Well, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you getting up after this marathon that has been Token 2049 week. And we're here live at Hack Seasons. And I'm Richard Carthon. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Edge of show. And I have the honor of starting today's panel and getting Hack Seasons kicked off. And the panel today is going to be about decentralization versus practicality. It's a topic that really hits at the core of Web3, and I think we have a lot of awesome things to break down today. So we have awesome people here, starting with Georgie from WireX, bringing insights from the years about global digital payments, Jay-Z from Near AI, blending AI design and real-world tech, Ratchet from Wormhole, working on the front lines of multi-chain infrastructure, and Peter from Kiln, who's helping to institutions stake securely at scale. So I'm going to kick this off to everyone to get started. So I want to level set and ask the group, can decentralization actually be user-friendly? And can it be user-friendly at scale? And are we chasing the ideal that it can't coexist with mainstream adoption? And we'll start with you.
It's very, very loud.
Yes.
Check the mic, though.
Yeah, I think I'm hoping people there can hear that because I'm not hearing the questions. Can you?
Sure. So the first question is just can decentralization actually be user-friendly at scale?
It hopefully can. It very much depends on the use case, I think. And I think the question we first need to ask is whether people actually care about decentralization. And most people, we're living in this bubble, and we think this is, and it is indeed very important, but unfortunately, not everyone understands it. So I think first we would need to look at that aspect of it.
Yeah. Jay-Z, do you think it can be?
So the question was decentralization, is it possible
At scale.
at scale? In terms of user experience, I think.
Yes.
I'm going to say a rather unpopular opinion, which is the vast majority of eventual users of crypto basically don't care. In terms of user experience, past maybe is it kind of decentralized? But I would say that peaks at about 400 million out of the 5.5 billion people connected to the internet. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's important, but in terms of user experience, they care a lot more about speed, functionality, what they're actually doing. So yes, it's totally possible if you don't have, let's say, a horrible user experience would be a 10-minute block time that is entirely dependent on a whole bunch of bad geo-sharding from low CPU in terms of being able to do networking bandwidth with small amounts of transaction blocks. So I'm saying that's just a really, really bad user experience, 10-minute block times. But outside of that,
Rashid?
I mean, opposite to that, I actually think it's already out there, like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's already out in the masses. It's decentralized, right? Everyone loves it. The institutions are buying it now as well. The counterpoint to that is, I don't think we've seen another thing out there that's at that scale, which is probably why, we come on these panels and we talk about the practicality side. We'll talk about this more, in the future, in the next couple of questions, but I think there's a balance to be struck between early teams wanting to be decentralized and how they do that. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible, Bitcoin's out there. I don't know if you guys remember mining Bitcoin back in the day. That was my moment. Yeah, I did it in 2015. The fact that you could run a mining rig on your laptop and hope to get Bitcoin out of it, revolutionary. So I think it's already there. You just need teams to be fully adopting it. Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah, I think there is both pros and cons with decentralization for the user. So it's great, let's say, if a validator goes down on a network, the network is still up because it's decentralized. But let's say you get hacked, right? Who do you call? Who do you put the blame to? I think that user experience is pretty poor. So when something goes wrong, there's usually no centralized ownership who can take accountability for bad actors. And I think that's where the user experience goes wrong, is who do you blame? And when apps are built in a decentralized manner, it becomes more of a challenge of when things goes wrong, who do you put the blame to? And that's probably where more centralized systems can come into play. But then you also have the downside of centralized systems going down. So it comes with both pros and cons. And that's my kind of take on it.
Got it. No, I like it. I think it's a good way. I can see that different people feel differently about this, so that's going to keep it very interesting while we're here. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Rajit. So given wormholes work across chains, you've seen trade-offs firsthand. What are the real costs, technical, organizational, or otherwise, of staying fully decentralized?
That's a really tough one. Wormhole's actually one of the more decentralized protocols out there. We have 4 different contributor sets. We have about 19 guardians who are actively validating the cross-chain swaps that we do. I think the trade-off there is speed. So it takes us a lot longer to integrate a chain, but for us, instead of asking for a grant or instead of asking for costs from the other team to integrate, every chain integration that we do is a strategic expansion. So while we're not able to go to 100 chains in a month or compete at that game, we compete on the basis of volume, which I think is like the most important metric for any interoperability protocol out there. Wormhole's done what, $59 billion worth of volume since inception. The trade-off is definitely speed. Funny enough, I don't know if I should say this, but between our 4 contributor sets, it's really hard to coordinate between the teams as well. So yeah, I'd say speed is probably the biggest.
For sure. So, Georgie, you've worked at the intersection of crypto and global payments for years. In your view, where do you draw the line between user convenience and decentralization when building payment systems?
I don't think there is a line. It's probably a spectrum. And it very much depends on the audience you're targeting. So, we have arguably one of the most diverse audiences. So we have everyone from complete degens, because we started as early as 2015. The first crypto card we issued wasn't even a crypto card. It was a Bitcoin card because it was pre-Ethereum, so it allowed you to spend Bitcoin. But there's also just crypto curious people and those who even haven't touched crypto before. So we try to target them all, and various things work for various people. Again, us being in this bubble, we think decentralization is the main, and myself included. I think it's a great value to be building towards. But at the moment, the wide majority of users, which we see from the behavior of our own users, from people we see and talk in conferences, they don't care sometimes because they just don't care. Sometimes they don't even understand what the difference is between one product and another. So, not because people are stupid, just most people are way overloaded with many other things and just lazy to get into the detail. I think it's a balance of 2 things. One, it needs to be an appealing enough use case. Whether if there is no use case, you can push decentralization as hard as you want. It's not going to work. And another thing is incentives. So either one or the other, ideally both have to be there for a user to start caring about decentralization. So a good example is someone who is unbanked, doesn't have a card to spend their funds, and all of a sudden all these people learned how, USDC works on whatever blockchain, how you can do P2P transfers. Those concepts seem very difficult to an ordinary person, but then a week later you see that same ordinary person use those tools just because they have the necessity. Or otherwise, what we do, we try to incentivize people. We give them a traditional payment tool, the card or bank account with banking transfers, etc. But they incentivize them to use the card by giving them cashback in crypto, which we call crypto back. And that helps onboard people.
Yeah. The incentives are really good, and I think that's a really good way to encourage people to, be involved with that. But I'm actually going to pass it over to Jay-Z. So you have a background in AI and healthcare, and you're no stranger to sensitive data. So how realistic is decentralization when building systems that rely on regulated or personal information?
Minor clarification, believe it or not, there was a hallucination on my bio. I do have a background in confidential AI, so I can answer that, but some of that's wrong. Yay, AI, it's perfect every time. Okay, so first off, NVIDIA and some others are doing something called trusted execution environment inside of AIs. That's hardware level encryption. So like the chip itself is keeping anyone from being able to see it. What that means to you as a person who uses this kind of AI stuff is we have the ability to, as a inference provider, anyone has this ability, not near. Anyone has the ability as an inference provider to not look in and use your data. So some of these blockchain projects that, for example, are trying to monetize you selling your data, but now it's on crypto. Lovely idea. Most of the advances we have in AI have moved towards not doing that, which is a great thing. In terms of the regular blockchain projects, some of the other people on the stage are familiar with MPC networks and solvers and that kind of a thing. What we have now is also the ability to run all of those within chip level privatization, which means all you have to do as a blockchain project is confirm that the programmatic execution happened, and those things can move to being fully private and zero knowledge, which is a great thing for crypto. Not that we all love everyone knowing every transaction we've ever done forever. And in the past, when you were doing something stupid when you were 13, we totally want that on the blockchain forever. But so we have a lot of hard science advancements that have happened lately, and that's really awesome.
I agree. And as these advancements continue to happen, it's going to have the convergence of other companies being able to come in and make things even safer. And Peter, this is why I'm going to pass this over to you. So you work with institutional clients every day. Do you really care about decentralization, or is overestimating its importance in enterprise infrastructure not as valuable?
I think we have a very diverse audience in the room, so I want to first define what an institution is for Kiln. So institution is your favorite company you have interacted with, like Binance, Crypto.com, or Trust Wallet. And these institutions, they do care about the underlying decentralized networks, but the thing they care most about when they want to offer staking services to the user is the risk of providing staking yield. So in every decentralized network, when you run a validator, there is a risk or a penalty of that validator misbehaving. So that's like the biggest network, for example, on Ethereum. So for those who don't know, when you stake on Ethereum, you have to stake 32 Ethereum per validator. However, if your validator misbehaves in this decentralized network, and this is what they care about, you can potentially lose 1 Ethereum up to the whole amount of 32 ETH. So this is what they care about when we speak to institutions about staking. So when, for example, you interact with any of your favorite companies and they provide staking yield, they care about user safety. So they ask us, how does Kiln prevent our validators from being slashed? And we operate 5% of all the Ethereum validators. So if we can't bring comfort to our institutional clients and how we prevent slashing, then they won't even start providing those services to the end users. So yes, they do care about how safe these decentralized networks are. So from an infrastructure level, what we do is we identify first what is the value at risk. And we support over 40 different blockchains. And each blockchain has their own slashing mechanisms. And some of them, surprisingly, don't even have slashing. And then we have to explain why that is. That's a separate conversation. But let's say they have slashing. We have to explain what is the value at risk, what is the probability of being slashed, and then what do we do to prevent slashing from happening? And at Kiln, what we do is we provide 4 layers of anti-slashing mechanisms, and we have to educate our institutions on how that does. But out of interest of time, usually it's like a 60-minute conversation. Yeah, happy to take it offline. But yeah, they do care about the risk of a decentralized network.
No, I appreciate that, and breaking that down and getting some terms that everyone here can relate with. So passing it back to the entire group, as we look out into the future, is the importance of Web3 decentralization, like I guess philosophically, necessary, or do you think that as things continue to develop, it was nice at its core of what we started with, like why Bitcoin was created in the first place, we could get further away from that as we bring on the next generation of users? And I'll let whoever wants to take that first.
I can take that one first. Just philosophically, like that's what we want to talk about. I think it's really interesting. I think at the dApp level, every dApp is already decentralized. Like, you could argue if they're using like a centralized oracle that they're probably centralized, but at a dApp level, almost everything is decentralized, right? Because if you're operating on the blockchain, then it's more about is the blockchain decentralized or not? And that's where it gets a little tricky. So I want to talk a little bit about Hyperliquid and their situation. So I'm pretty sure everyone's aware, but they initially had 4 validators on their blockchain. Like Hyperliquid was this perpdex, now they're building like HyperVM. And the biggest speculation there was this is probably going to get hacked by North Korea, and it's not secure. After which the team then increased the validator set to 23. So I think there's a time and place for those sort of progressions, and teams that are early will prefer to build fast and go the centralized route, but as they scale, as users care, as users come on, as you get more enticed with user funds, you will see teams shift away and focus more on decentralization. Another thing that I don't think we've talked a lot about is the governance side of decentralization. I've tweeted about this a lot. I think my hot take is governance forums are the first form of social file in crypto. It's beautiful how a chain can come on Uniswap, say that Uniswap should expand to that chain, and you have to vote on if that should happen or not. So decentralized has its time and place. The Wormhole Foundation, we're also building up the governance mechanisms as well. So my only advice for any team building early is try to build fast. If this is a blocker, you can deal with this later. And then as you scale up, as you get more users, listen to user feedback, and then decentralize in ways that your users want to feel empowered.
Peter, you have anything to add?
I think that was great. Yeah, nothing to add.
All right, awesome. So I want to kick it back to you real quick, Jay-Z. So as a designer and technologist, what helps make decentralized tools more usable for people outside of crypto-native crowd, especially in areas in the world of AI?
That's pretty much the same answer as what I was about to give for the last thing, so that's perfect. Quick poll of the audience. Who has ever done anything on crypto that they felt like had real utility outside of making a token go up? Just put your hand up if you feel like you have had a crypto project in Web3 that you felt like had utility other than money go up. We're at a crypto conference, and that was 80%, if this is being recorded, 80% of the people in the audience, and there were people paying attention to that, didn't put their hands up. And this is our audience. People don't feel like they have utility. And we aren't supporting projects that exist for normal people. And yeah, decentralization 100% matters on that. You need AI that isn't controlled by a country or a large organization where, even how you train LLMs, you can have what are called sleeper queries. So when you train, if you don't validate the actual training, you could, let's say, ask what happened around September of 1989, and nothing comes up for some reason. And that, is a perfectly normal and correct answer, and it's not wrong. But, decentralization really matters in AI, and it really, really matters that crypto in Web3 has a use case that your grandmother, your mom, your friend that doesn't know how a wallet works and is really turned off by having to save 12 words and figure out which one's number 7. Like, which one was number 7? I'm still stressed about that from yesterday. And I'm in crypto. Like, we need to start supporting things that are useful for actual people. And money going up, and I think you guys are the AI agent panel. I love you. You should stick around for them next. Woo! Sorry, we're decentralization here. So AI is going to be what takes the 350 million to 500 million people, and by the way, half of that is people who Bitcoin Maxi token go up only. It's going to sit in their wallet. So it's really 2.5% of humanity connected to the internet is on crypto right now. And if you're trying to pump your bags, AI is what's going to do it. It is the only thing that's going to do it. If you thought they were going to come in because of money go up, it would have already happened. We already had the everyone knows about crypto part of life. Well, maybe not if you're in, a very poor country with no internet connectivity, but everyone knows what Bitcoin is. Maybe not how it works, but you know what Bitcoin is now. It's in rap songs. We're good. So what's going to change? What has made a 10x improvement in people's lives anytime lately? And yes, Web3 is going to be a part of it, but it's not Web3, it's AI. Everyone gets excited about that. Not everyone gets excited about Web3. Well, people aren't all excited about AI. It's taking people's jobs, but the rest of us are really excited about AI.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said about AI. But right now we have a lot of institutions coming in, so I'm going to pass this to Peter really quickly, which is, from your conversations with institutions, what's the biggest misconception or resistance points that come up about decentralized systems?
That's a really good question. In terms of resistance points, it actually goes all the way back to what I discussed before about the risk of exposing their investors to slashing risk. That's the main thing that might prevent them from participating. And besides that, there's also when we introduce the topic of restaking, where you can then reuse your existing stakes, that becomes also a big topic of resistance, because it's very complicated to explain where certain yields comes from. So while there's a lot of resistance, it's never about them not wanting to do it. It's just that they want to do it in a secure way because they care about their customers. Because as institutions, they have their ownership to secure their end clients' funds. So they're just going to follow the same traditional models they have with banks, understand the security, understand the risk, and that's really where their system comes in. And that means that the institutions just operate much, much slower than everyone else, right? So while we have degens who have pretty much zero risk tolerance, institutions has the highest level of risk tolerance, and that's really where the resistance comes from. They want to do it, but they want to do it in a secure manner, and that's very, very slow. So when I work with institutions, what we call sales cycle can take 1 to 2 years, and that's just overcoming that resistance.
Excellent. Well, we're almost at time. I want to make sure that everybody has the last point here. But as we've been talking about a lot of things around decentralization, what do you think is a lasting moment that, if everyone here is listening, you want to make sure you impart this wisdom to them before they leave? And then also, if they want to learn more about what you're working on, make sure that you share where they can find you.
Decentralization is very important, but it's more important that it's useful, right? If it's decentralization just for the sake of its own, who cares, right? If it helps you solve existing issues better, faster, cheaper, it's good. If it helps you remove that trust element and avoid losing money or other bad things, it's good. If it's just decentralization for the sake of its own, again, it's not good. Like in our case, we give users the choice. It's no secret. In the fintech world, it's much easier to offer a better selection of products, monetize users better if it's a centralized product. And 95% of people are perfectly happy with that. For those who are not, for those who need decentralization and care about it more than they do about the perks and benefits and cashback and all that, we offer a completely decentralized product, like a debit card that spends directly from your on-chain wallet without you ever needing to trust us anything. So,
Awesome.
there you go.
Appreciate it.
So we're supposed to talk about our projects?
No, you can just, a final thought that you want to give on this.
Oh, okay. Near AI is building an actual ChatGPT competitor. We have a strong belief that the only opportunity to really replace TradFi is through when everyone switches instead of a web browser to agents and assistants buying everything in their life. They won't care what's happening underneath. And that means we can switch out Visa for something else. And, we're talking world transactional volumes. And if you take half of what Visa is, and like Visa takes, is pay for free inference for everyone forever instead of charging them $200 to $2,000 or $10,000 a month. If you take that, give it away to the entire world, level out the informational playing field for absolutely everyone in humanity, and take the financial layer, the transactions for that, if you take 1%, that's about $2 trillion a year. That is 10x the number of people in crypto.
Yeah.
We're really, I know I've been on the AI kick. If you want to decentralize the world and make sure Visa and the banks and everyone else don't control your future, because like Anthropic just did a partnership with Visa, do you think they're going after the same thing? If we want to win as crypto against TradFi and regular things, we have to go hard into AI. And by the way, we're not trying to do that alone. We did the Open Agents Alliance pretty much, and you guys can come in, but pretty much everyone in AI crypto is working together because we realize how important this is.
It's all good, man. Just two things that I think everyone should think about. The first thing, how I talked about, gradual decentralization. You'll always see teams build, and then they'll spin up a foundation, they'll have a labs team, and then they'll sort of decentralize in that fashion. Wormo's obviously been around for a very long time, so we've gone through that process. You see the Monad team, the Beratin team do that now. The second thing that I focus on is, if you really care about decentralization, use infrastructure that is actually decentralized. Like, do not go back to the centralized players. Like, effectively, that is your risk. The third thing that I would just say, the reason why decentralization is not like mainstream, I think privacy has to do a lot with that, and that's something that we need to change for the conversation to come back to like, okay, decentralization to be practical.
I'm gonna have to say something opposing to JC. So from our perspective, TradFi or the traditional big banks are not the opposing side of the coin. I think they're very much going to be part of the decentralized ecosystems. And because if they're going to be part of it, what's really going to happen is that they are going to lose power. That's really what decentralization is about, is removing power from a centralized entity. And currently, all these TradFis has very much centralized power. But once they come on chain, and they are all looking on coming on chain, there'll be more equity amongst everyone who participates in the financial systems. So I do think that decentralization is not a opposing enemy towards banks or large institutions. Rather, it's a way for distributing power more equitably. And I have seen that a lot of them wants to participate, but going back to what I've been saying before, their participation takes time, right? It takes 1, 2, 3 years. It's basically they're going through a university degree for them, educating them about what blockchain is, what tokenization tools they can use to bring their products on chain. And yeah, it's just like all these institutions just need to go through a long, long university degree, and it takes 3, 4, 5 years. So yeah, they will come, but when they come, they'll be ready. They have done the education. They will have products their users can use without onboarding a lot of the risks that comes with a lot of these decentralized networks. So that's my kind of final take on it.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, everyone here.